A door can lead to safety, or it can open straight into danger. In Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 5, titled, Need I Say Door? The meaning of that one word might decide who lives, who dies, and how far Peacemaker is willing to go for his version of peace. The story so far has been a roller coaster of laughs, chaos, and unexpected moments of raw emotion. John Cena's Peacemaker is not just a comic relief anymore. He's become one of the most unpredictable and strangely relatable characters in the DC universe. Episode 4 left us hanging on several big questions, and Episode 5 promises to give us at least some answers. But before we dive into the preview of what's coming, let's pause and look at why this show works so well, and why Episode 5 might become a turning point. Peacemaker started out as a guy who said he would kill anyone, men, women, or children if it meant keeping peace. At first, that sounded like a joke, an exaggerated version of a macho superhero. But as the series has gone on, that line has started to feel heavier. We've watched him struggle with guilt, face his past, and slowly question the very rules he's lived by. The comedy keeps us laughing, but the story beneath the jokes is where James Gunn keeps hitting us the hardest. Every episode so far has pushed Peacemaker closer to breaking, and this new one might finally test whether he can grow beyond the violent man he used to be. Now, think back to how Episode 4 ended. Tension was rising in the group. The mission wasn't going smoothly. There were hints of betrayal, cracks forming between allies, and threats growing outside their control. Gunn loves leaving fans with a question mark at the end of every chapter, and he knows exactly how to set up a mid-season explosion. Episode 5 is right in that middle sweet spot where things usually take a sharp turn. If Season 1 taught us anything, it's that nothing stays lighthearted for too long in Peacemaker's world. The title alone, Need I Say Door, is a tease. It could be a literal reference to an escape, a trap, or a showdown behind closed doors. Or it could be symbolic. Maybe a door to Peacemaker's past finally opens, or a door to a new future slams shut. James Gunn loves using double meanings, so you can bet this episode won't treat the title as a throwaway line. The word door almost sounds like a warning. Once you walk through, you can't go back. That's the kind of drama and suspense fans are expecting. Another reason Episode 5 stands out is because it's at the heart of the season. The early episodes are about setting up the story. The later ones deliver the big payoffs, but the middle ones? That's where the ground usually shifts beneath the characters. It's where the tone changes, where the stakes become real, and where fans realize that this isn't just another superhero comedy. It's a show about choices, consequences, and survival. And of course, let's not forget the style of the show. The action is brutal, the music is loud, and the jokes cut sharp. But then, out of nowhere, you get these quiet, emotional punches moments when Peacemaker is forced to look in the mirror. That's the rhythm James Gunn has built. Laugh, 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 and then suddenly cry. Episode 5 is positioned perfectly for one of those emotional gut punches, hidden inside the chaos. So as we look ahead, the hook isn't just in the title. It's in the fact that doors are about to open, both literally and figuratively. Will Peacemaker step through into redemption? Or will he find himself trapped in another cycle of violence and regret? That's the question we'll be carrying with us as Episode 5 begins. Asterisk, the title of this week's episode, Need I Say Door, is more than just a catchy phrase. It's the kind of title that makes fans pause and wonder, is this about a real door or something much bigger? In a James Gunn story, nothing is ever just surface level. A door can be literal, like the entrance to a secret hideout, a hidden passage, or even the exit Peacemaker and his crew desperately need to survive. But it can also be symbolic. Doors can represent choices, transitions, betrayals, and even the idea of shutting people out. And in this preview, all signs point to doors being slammed open in ways that change everything. When we look at how Episode 4 ended, the team was already struggling with trust. Peacemaker and his allies were holding it together, but barely. Each character has their own agenda, their own wounds, and their own secrets. That's why this episode feels like the moment when someone finally pushes too far. A door can also mean confrontation, a moment when what's hidden comes out into the open. Will secrets spill? Will loyalties be tested? The title makes it feel like this is the episode where no one can hide behind closed doors anymore. But there's another layer here. Fans know James Gunn loves mixing chaos with emotion. He'll give you an explosive action scene filled with brutal fights and absurd humor, but right in the middle, he'll slip in something that cuts deep. Imagine Peacemaker standing at a literal door, about to storm through with his usual confidence only to realize what's on the other side isn't an enemy, but something personal. Maybe a painful memory, maybe a truth he's been avoiding. That's how Gunn plays with symbolism. He lures you in with comedy and violence that makes you feel something you weren't expecting. The preview hints also suggest some big conflicts coming. One of the running themes of this season has been the shaky unity of Peacemaker's squad. They've shared victories, but the cracks are clear. In a team like this, betrayal is never too far away. Episode 5 could be the one where someone on the inside chooses their own survival over loyalty. And if that happens, it could be the kind of twist that forces Peacemaker to rethink everything. A door closing on one alliance might open another maybe, even with a character fans won't see coming, and let's not forget the villains. Every season builds up its threats slowly, and by the time we hit the middle episodes, those threats usually start showing their teeth. The preview suggests danger creeping closer, not just from outside forces, but also from decisions made within the group. What if the real enemy is already among them? What if that door isn't something they're trying to open, but something that's already been left unlocked, letting the danger in? That's the kind of twist that would fit perfectly in the DNA of this show. The phrase, "need I say," door itself has a mocking, sarcastic tone to it. It almost feels like a punchline waiting to happen. Maybe it's a line Peacemaker himself says in the middle of a fight, turning something deadly serious into a ridiculous gag. Or maybe it's delivered in a moment when humor feels completely out of place, undercutting the tension in the most Gunn-like way possible. Either way, you can expect that title to echo in a scene that leaves fans talking long after the credits. Roll dot, what makes this all more exciting is where we are in the season. Episode 5 is right in the middle, the hinge point. This is where the tone shifts. If the first few episodes were about setup and slow build, this is where the story explodes open. By the end of episode 5, fans should have a clear sense of the stakes, the real villain, and the path Peacemaker has to take, whether he likes it or not. That's why this preview feels so loaded. The door isn't just a door. It's the gateway to the rest of the season, and once it's opened, there's no turning back. So as we prepare for a Need I Say door, we're not just waiting for another funny, violent episode. We're waiting for the one that shifts the ground beneath Peacemaker's boots. Will it be the episode that finally breaks his team apart? Will it be the one where his past refuses to stay locked away? Or will it open the door to something bigger in the DC universe? The answers are close, and they're coming fast. And that's what makes this preview so thrilling. The sense that this episode is about to change everything. Asterisk, every Peacemaker episode so far has delivered its fair share of shocks, but episode 5 carries the weight of being the turning point. If the first half of the season was about setting up the pieces, this is where James Gunn starts knocking them over. And with a title like Need I Say Door, it's safe to assume that once this door opens, fans won't be able to close it again. The twists waiting inside could reshape not only this season, but also Peacemaker's future in the DCU. Let's talk about character survival first. This show has never been shy about pulling the rug out from under viewers, and no one, absolutely no one, is safe. In Season 1, fans learned quickly that even likable, funny characters could meet a brutal end. Episode 5 might follow the same formula. Someone close to Peacemaker could be at risk, and the loss could strike a nerve that changes him forever. A teammate's betrayal would sting, but a teammate's death? That would leave scars, the kind that ripple through the rest of the season. Gunn loves to force his characters to face emotional pain right after making you laugh, and nothing does that better than pulling a beloved character off the board at the exact moment you least expect it. But survival isn't the only twist on the table. The theme of doors suggests new arrivals, and that could mean a cameo or a reveal of a bigger player in the DC universe. Imagine the reaction if a familiar DC name suddenly appears not necessarily as an ally, but maybe as another. Complication. James Gunn is now building the DCU brick by brick, and Peacemaker remains one of his foundation stones. That means this show could be the perfect place to sneak in characters who will matter later. Episode 5, being right in the middle, is the perfect place for that surprise cameo one. That hints at what's coming beyond just this series. Another possible twist lies in Peacemaker himself. His entire journey has been about questioning his peace at any cost philosophy. Episode 5 could put him in a situation where he has to make the kind of choice that rips that mantra apart. Maybe the door he has to walk through isn't physical, it's moral. Does he save someone he cares about, even if it risks the mission, or does he sacrifice them for the greater goal? Those are the kinds of choices that define characters forever. And in true Gunn fashion, the twist might not be what we expect. Instead of choosing one extreme, Peacemaker might find a third, Messier option that leaves everyone shaken. We should also expect tension within the team to boil over. Episode 4 already showed cracks, but Episode 5 feels like the moment when words turn into action. A heated argument, a betrayal, or even a fistfight between supposed allies could erupt. These are not polished superheroes, they're messy, flawed, and unpredictable. Watching them implode could be just as dramatic as any fight with outside villains. And that implosion could come with a devastating reveal. Perhaps someone on the inside has been feeding information to the enemy all along. That would make the door metaphor even darker. The danger was never locked outside. It's been inside with them the entire time. Of course, James Gunn always balances his twists with humor. Don't be surprised if the darkest revelation is paired with a completely absurd moment of comedy. That's his way of making the shock hit even harder. Picture it. A teammate exposes their betrayal, emotions run high, and just when the tension feels unbearable, Peacemaker drops a line so ridiculous you almost forget the danger almost. It's that mix of tone that keeps fans glued to the screen, never knowing whether to laugh, cry, or scream. But the biggest twist of all could be what this episode sets up for the larger DCU. Remember, Peacemaker isn't just a standalone story anymore. It's part of the grand rebuild of the DC universe. Gunn has teased that everything connects and Peacemaker's story will ripple out into movies and future shows. Episode 5 might be the hidden key. Whether through a cameo, a name drop, or a shocking reveal, this episode could plant the seed for something much larger. Fans expecting just another violent, funny episode might walk away realizing they've just witnessed the first crack in a much bigger door. The one that opens straight into the new DCU. So when we talk about twists, it's not just about who lives and who dies, it's about what this episode unlocks. The door is a symbol, a threat, and a promise all at once. Step through it, and nothing is ever the same again. And that's exactly why fans are bracing themselves, because in Peacemaker, the biggest twist is always the one you don't see coming. Every great episode leaves you with a mix of answers and questions. And Peacemaker 2x05, need I say door, feels like the kind of chapter that will do exactly that. By the time the credits roll, fans may be laughing, shocked, and maybe even heartbroken. But one thing is certain, this episode is not meant to be filler. It's designed to slam the story into high gear and set up the path toward the season's explosive final stretch. Think about where we started this season. Peacemaker was still carrying the scars of his past, struggling to balance his desire for connection with the violent code he built his identity around. Alongside him, a team of misfits tried to stay united while secrets and tensions simmered beneath the surface. Each episode has peeled back another layer, revealing not just who these characters are, but how fragile their world really is. By episode 5, that fragility is about to shatter. That's why this preview feels like more than hype. It feels like a warning. What makes this series so addictive is the way James Gunn juggles tones. You can't predict what's coming next because every moment carries two possible paths, absurd comedy or gut-wrenching drama. Episode 5 is expected to lean into both extremes. We might see Peacemaker cracking jokes in the middle of a firefight, only to find him broken and vulnerable minutes later. We might laugh at a ridiculous gag, then realize we're holding our breath as betrayal or loss unfolds in the very next scene. That roller coaster is what keeps fans glued to the screen, and this episode promises to push that formula even harder. And let's not underestimate the symbolism of the door once more. Doors don't just open and close, they divide, they protect, they trap. In storytelling, walking through a door usually means change. It's the moment you leave one world and enter another. For Peacemaker, that could mean stepping into a truth he can't unsee. For his team, it could mean realizing that not everyone deserves to make it to the other side. And for the audience, it could mean that what we thought was just a violent comedy is evolving into something far more layered and unpredictable. This is also where fan engagement becomes part of the journey. Every twist, every betrayal, every laugh-out-loud moment will spark theories. Who will betray the group? Who won't survive the episode? Which DC character might suddenly appear to shake things up? These questions aren't just part of the viewing experience, they're part of the conversation fans carry into online communities, comment sections, and watch parties. That's what makes shows like Peacemaker so powerful. They don't just entertain, they ignite debate. So if you're gearing up for Need I Say Door, here's what you should keep in mind. Expect the unexpected. Expect a fight that turns into a revelation. Expect a joke that hides a deeper pain. Expect that someone you've grown attached to might not make it through. And most of all, expect this episode to widen the scope of what this season and maybe the entire DCU is building toward. This isn't just about Peacemaker anymore. It's about what his story opens up for everything to come. And here's where you, the fans, come in. What do you think the title really means? Is it a literal door to escape or ambush? Or is it a door to Peacemaker's past finally bursting open? Do you think a hidden traitor will be revealed? Or could Episode 5 drop the first real link to Gunn's larger DCU plans? These are the theories waiting to be explored. And the best part of this fandom is how creative and bold those predictions can be. As the anticipation builds. One thing is clear, Episode 5 will leave fans talking, speculating, and maybe even arguing until the next chapter arrives. And that's the magic of it. Peacemaker isn't just a show you watch. It's a show you live with, one that follows you after the screen goes dark. The door is about to open, and once it does, the season and maybe even the DCU will never be the same again. So buckle up, because Peacemaker 2x05 is promising more than just another mission, more than just another laugh. It's promising a step into the unknown. And when that door swings wide, the only question left is, who's ready to walk through, and who's about to get left behind?